Hello, and welcome to a grab and go put on by me, Christine, the teen librarian at the Jones Creek branch of the East Baton Rouge Parish Library. Today we will be making woven eyes. The materials you will need are an eye-shaped loom generously cut out by our laser cutter at the River Center Makerspace, a needle. Yours will probably be 3D printed. About 100 inches of crochet cotton string in red or black. About a foot of black yarn, 2 yards of white yarn, and 4 yards of blue yarn. You will also need scissors. Let's begin. To start my weaving, I'll do the warp thread around the loom in black. I want a black pupil, so I'm using black cotton string. I'll take a little bit through and tie that off in a little knot. Then I'll flip it around so the knot is on the back. Go straight down, under, around, and up to the left to create a cross mark or an X. I'll go under to the next notch, down, under the notch, and I'll keep repeating this around the entire piece. And there we go. We are halfway done. We have a top left quadrant and a bottom right quadrant done. And on the back, we have a loop around every other tooth. Don't let it go too loose or it will come undone. I'm going to start turning my work as I do it now, which is the easier way to do it, but the harder way to show it off to you. Now, I've gone around this one, but there isn't a notch for me down here. So what I'm going to do is just drop my thread through a hole and bring it around that big knot in the center, come to the back, and tie it together with my tail from my very first stitch. I'm going to use the back of my needle as a little probe to bring that through and tie off a knot. And I want to keep it pretty tight because I don't want any of the pieces to come off. Tie it again. Oh, I did miss one over here, but I think I can use my needle to get it back into place. And you go back into place as well. Very naughty. Very bad. If this happens to you, it might be easier to just start again and try and keep everything more taut next time. But there, I won in the end. I'm going to cut off this extra piece with my scissors. I don't need that much getting in my way. All right, we've done the first part, which is the warp. Now it's time to thread our needle and begin the weft, the ones you actually weave up and down. I'm going to start by threading my needle with the black yarn. There we go. Leave a little tail so when it gets tugged, it doesn't immediately become unthreaded. Now we're going to weave. Weaving means, in this case, going over one strand and under the next. The middle is really complicated and dense, so we're not going to start right in the middle. We'll work around the outside and then squunch it in later. So I'm going to go down and up and down and up, down and up, down, up. Needle goes over one, needle goes under one. After you've done about the length of the needle, pull it through. Now if we look at my last one, I can see it went under, so I'll go over, under, over. And now we're coming to that weird one we did at last. I'm going to treat it on the back and the first one on the front as a single piece of thread, and just keep on going. We're going to pull until we don't have much tail left. And in fact, we want that tail to be on the bottom side. So you go down, go down. It's always easy to rotate your work to get a better eyeball angle on it. This one was under, over, under, over, under, over. Alright, I've done a full loop, so I'm going to pull my top yarn and my bottom yarn and then sort of push in the yarn with my needle back to get a nice dense middle of the eyeball. And then I'm going to do another round or 3. Alright, I think that's about as big as I want the pupil of my eyeball to be. So I'm going to trim off, leaving some ends, my yarn here. And now it's time for my next color, white. Alright, I have that threaded onto my needle. And now this one's going to be a bit more complicated to weave than the previous one, because you need to haul all the thread you want to use through. And when there's 2 yards, that's a lot different than when there are 1 foot. So I'm going to start, my last one ended here, so I'm going to start my next one back a couple stitches so we have some overlap. So I'll come up and pull, and go over, under, over, under, and pull through. I'll cut this off. I might need it later, but I can't use it now. You only want about as much as you can pull with your hand, or else you start having to pull it hand over hand, which is not to be done. Inconvenient. So I'll go over, under, until I think the center of my eye is the right size, or I run out of yarn. Alright, I've done, 3-4 rows, and I think that is enough of the white of the eye. I've used not much of my yarn, honestly. Probably didn't need that much, but always better have too much than too little. I'm going to turn it to the back and cut off my tail, the same as my previous ones. Unthread my needle and switch to blue. Blue is going to be special though. I've cut off and threaded about an arm's length of blue yarn, and for this one I'm going to do two things. First, I'm going to do a little bit of a circle around the white of the eye, starting about 3 or 4 stitches back, just like I did when I transitioned from black to white. Under. Now, I'm actually going to go and start weaving at the outside of the eye shape. To do that, I'm going to tie off what I just did. And cut my blue yarn. Then I'm going to start at one of the corners, hold the back down with my finger, and trace the outside instead of sticking tight to the inside. Not underneath the wood, or on top of the wood, but close. Now I'm going to weave my blue yarn around the outside of the eyeball shape. Not the very outside, but this outside. Alright, so this area is full up now. So what I'm going to do is weave not in a full circle, but in a sort of short row until I can't weave here anymore, then fill in one side of the eyeball, sneak over, and fill in the other side. Let's do it. Alright, and there we go. One eyeball done. If you wanted it to be less eyeball shaped, you could still make it more evil eye and round shaped by scrunching your ends in. You can either cut this or take this off of your loom or leave it on as a decorative. I'm going to take this one off my loom so I can make another demo of the red eye. So to take this off, I'm going to just pop all the threads off of the little notches. This works for all but this one that we tied a knot around it. So I'll cut that one. You could also try to untie the knot. That leaves us with this little guy. If you expand outward, you'll get a sort of eyeball shape, and that'll fill in all of your little loopy bits. This is an option. This is not your only option, but it is an option. This little end I'm going to tie off. I think it's important. You can also get a piece of cardboard or felt and glue this down with all the little black eyelash ends pushed to the back before you glue it. Or you can leave it on your frame and hang it from the little circle. Thank you for your time today making loomed eyes. If you've enjoyed this grab and go activity, be sure to leave positive feedback on social media and return to the library for more grab and go opportunities.